Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explainer series. I am Kushagra Goel. And we understand your concern about the revision series, and don't worry, from next week onwards in midweek, you will start getting on a daily basis the revision series videos. And that will now cover up till the month of March and also the early April itself. So across the next week, midweek onwards until the third week of April, you will have your revision series from our side. On that note, one doubt that students had from yesterday was what does it meant when Prime Minister stated test, track and follow up on that. So testing, advanced testing, that you need to test far more people, and then tracking. What is that? It is contact tracing of those who have come in contact with the COVID patient, and that makes us better at testing, or the test should be on those people who either have symptoms or have come in close contact with those who have tested positive for COVID-19. So that is how you can early detection of COVID cases. Early detection leads to better medical facility for them. Better medical facilities lead to likeliness of low death ratio vis-a-vis COVID-19. On that note, we'll begin with today's newspaper. So on the front page, on the left hand side, people are free to choose religion. Supreme Court responding to a petition that was filed, the court stated that, see, a person who is an adult has the right to choose whichever religion they want to. So for example, if I convert from one religion to another, being an adult, I have that choice. How is that choice accessible to me? Under two fundamental rights, under Article 26 of the Indian Constitution and also Article 21, which is intrinsic to right to privacy, because the court stated religious faith is a part of the fundamental right to privacy. My faith, how I believe or perceive religion, is a matter that is personal to me, is a private affair, and therefore no one can regulate how should I convert, or no court should determine whether conversion is permissible or not. As the court stated, public interest petition claiming there is a mass religious happening by hook or crook across the country is a very, very harmful kind of public interest litigation. Why should a person above the age of 18 years not choose his religion? What kind of a writ petition is this? So criticizing such a writ petition being filed, and the court stated that, see, under Article 25, 26 and Article 21, which is right to privacy, people have the right to choose to convert to whatever religion they want to. The court cannot arbitrate upon why or whether such a conversion is permissible or not. Okay? Then on the left hand side, vaccinations go down as states face shortage. More and more centers are closing down in the country because of shortage of COVID-19 vaccines. The central government has stated that there is better supply in the pipeline and the stocks are available, but most of the COVID vaccination centers are now running below capacity, as India is now administering far higher number of COVID dosage, which is 30 to 40 lakhs across the country. As our speed of vaccination increases, our scope or the need for better and more vaccines is important. Then moving on the left hand side, there is one news which is about a US ship carrying out a freedom of navigation operation. It is in the exclusive economic zone of India, that was south of Lakshadweep Islands, that this operation was carried out by US without the permission of India. The announcement of such permission not being present was by US 7th Fleet themselves. So what is this about? So each country, wherever who are surrounded by sea, have a territorial water, and then beyond that they have exclusive economic zone. So for example, this is the map, Peninsula of India, 12 nautical miles, which is the measurement for sea, is the exclusive territorial water of India. And then beyond this, for up to 200 nautical miles, is the EEZ. Under EEZ, so what does this mean? One, under territorial waters, which is this part of 12 nautical miles, no ship can enter of anyone without the express consent of India, because it is territorial waters of India. In exclusive economic zone, India has the exclusive right to extract or regulate how the resources, for example, you have fishing or any other, let's say oil, deep sea mining, any of that, India has exclusive right for this. But in addition to this, there is one law which is known as the UNCLAUSE, United Nations Convention on Law of the Seas, UNCLAUSE, under Article 87 of the UNCLAUSE. Okay, ships have a freedom to navigate through the economic zone without any restriction. That in these economic zones also you have freedom to navigate. However, the restriction is that such ships, when you are passing through these waters, you cannot carry out military exercises or maneuvers or use of explosive. Exactly what the USS John Paul Jones, which was the ship involved in the Freedom of Navigation Operation, FONOP, was involved in. And therefore, because this permission was not available, India has sent a statement that sees such a thing is not permissible and should not be done in future. However, India is a signatory to UNCLAUSE, but US is not a signatory to UNCLAUSE. So therefore, the US Navy 7th Fleet claimed that they do not need to be abided by this restriction. Plus, this restriction that India places on express consent required to undertake a military operation in the exclusive economic zone is not permissible. Challenging the notion additionally, this operation is seen as a message to China, which is trying to impose its control over the South China Sea. That by doing an operation in the Indian Ocean, which is near to the South China Sea, a message is being sent out to China that see such a thing should not be done. As this is a developing story, the law becomes important. So the UNCLAUSE under Article 87 permits ships to navigate. However, regarding military operations, you need express consent. Two things about the territory of waters. So 12 nautical miles is the territorial waters and 200 nautical miles is the exclusive economic zone. Then moving on the other national news, one news stand out for us, which is a follow-up from a long pending dispute. It is about closure of the Italian Marines case. In 2012, two Italian Marines, that is Salvatore Girone and Massimiliano Latorre, had accidentally shot fishermen of Kerala thinking that they were pirates. Now the Supreme Court has stated that the case will be closed up only after compensation of 10 crore is paid to the people who were and the family members to who were assassinated in this attack. So this became a huge diplomatic issue back in 2012. This was the action. First question was, can such Marines be tried? Yes, they could be, because the action took place in the territorial waters of India. In that regard, therefore, this operation could be carried out. And yet, then they were sent back to Italy. Their trial was still pending. Now compensation has been agreed and they will now be charged for investigation in Italy. Moving on the editorial front, the main editorial talks about one thing, which is India's refugee problem. That's noticing the image of refugees being turned away, people who are trying to escape from the extortion and military might of the Myanmar military. What should be done or what India should have done? In that regard, the one thing that stands out for India is because India does not have a refugee law and is not a signatory to the Refugee Convention. In that regard, India's law that governs foreigners clubs both illegal immigrants, refugees and unskilled migrants. All three of them are clubbed as foreigners under India's Act. And therefore, based on each case-to-case basis, India determines whether a person is a refugee, should entry be permitted or should not be permitted. So this ad hocism is one that is the root cause of problem. Secondly, it also questions why has India not permitted to the Refugee Convention. The reason it is that the Refugee Convention only includes civil and political rights and not the economic rights. Now the concern of India is that, see, this is loop-sided obsession with civil and political right at the cost of economic rights. What this does is it creates a artificial barrier for developed countries. While they can deny entry to those people who have no economic resources in their country and thus are moving away, their rights are not recognized or they are not granted permission, but civil and political rights victims can be. So India's claim is that all three of them should be permitted as a refugee. As things stand, India does not have a refugee law, which is a cause of concern in all these cases. And the last thing that this editorial discusses is why the CAA, which is about religious prosecution from three particular countries, is not the answer, because it only revolves around the concern of specifically from three countries. However, India, being at the center of Southeast Asia, has to cater to the demands of other nations also and needs a normal refugee law. Then on the left hand side, a disturbing order. This is about the civil court's order in Varanasi about ASI survey. Now two things stand out. One, a petition is pending before the Allahabad High Court whether a notice regarding the same dispute can be issued or not. So one, the civil court has superseded that, and secondly, it has also superseded the restrictions imposed under the Places of Worship Act also. The Act imposes a restriction on fresh cases for conversion or claim of conversion based on historical wrongs, that if something has happened after the date of independence, only that can be taken into picture and not historical wrongs. So that is another thing. Apart from this, the editorial also talks about the overall how this creates a rift between the two communities, which was evident after the demolition of the Babri Masjid and the riots that took place across the country on the same issue. That such a thing would once again create divide between the communities and thus should be avoided. Then moving on the left hand side, the second one, time test ties. This is about ties between Russia and India. Now there is a general perceivance that India and Russia ties are drifting apart. India is getting closer to the Western countries. Russia is getting closer to Pakistan and China, which are adversaries of India. Yet they are collaborating on some things, but their dispute or conflict is rising more and more. Then the second editorial, not relevant for us. Then turning to the other national news. Following up from the front page, the same things have been explained. I have already explained all of this at the front page itself. All right. Then Sushen Gupta's counsel has denied the reports about paying bribes to Dassault Aviation or any such event. This is something that has not been investigated by Indian government or any investigative agency. The opposition parties are demanding so. Moving on, then live streaming of Supreme Court is soon to be possible. Till now, whenever you wanted to attend a proceeding of the Supreme Court, only journalists or parties to the case were permissible. However, Supreme Court being the apex court, and the laws and judgments that the court passes affects all citizens. Therefore, a call for live streaming of these proceedings was called into. Supreme Court has declared that their E-committee, which is headed by Justice Chandrachud, will soon be able to telecast live streaming of Supreme Court proceedings. Then on the left hand side, India-China hold talks again regarding border de-escalation, but no solution has come out of it yet. Then moving on the international front, one sad news that Prince Philip Mountbatten, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II, the monarch of United Kingdom, has passed away. Prince Philip was also the chief guest of the Republic Day parade in 1959 and has been one of the longest serving royal of the British family, that is the House of Windsor. So this is one sad event on international affairs. His connection with India is also that he was the adopted son of Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India. Then moving on the international news, nothing of real note. Talks regarding border dispute between Bhutan and China are to take place. This is something that India needs to observe because it affects the border ties between India also, specifically in 2017, the Doklam clash that took place. Then net tax receipts of the Indian government have been 5% higher. It is believed that this is related to the Vivad se Vishwas scheme. Under the Vivad se Vishwas scheme, tax disputes that have been pending in court can be solved through payment of lump sum amount and plus certain amount of penalty. Waiver of interest is included in that. That use of this scheme along with digitization and more digital payments, the advanced tax received of the government have been higher. When tax revenue of the government is higher, it does not need to borrow more, which is reflected that fiscal deficit may be lower. If government's income is higher, it need not borrow more. Then moving on, apart from this, on the sporting side, nothing of real note. So thus, happy announcement for all of you. Mid-April, we will be beginning from next week onwards, that is Wednesday onwards, we will have revision videos for you all for your current affairs. On that note, I will conclude for the day. Any doubts regarding the unclosed dispute, feel free to ask. And thank you so much. See you all tomorrow.